Check out what this coon ass Negro Richard Sherman said, and I'll come back with my commentary.
But there are also some obviously ignorant points in there. I don't think it's any times a time to call out for an all-out war against police or any race of people. I thought that was an ignorant statement. But as a black man, I do understand that Black Lives Matter. I stand for that. I believe in that wholeheartedly. But I also think that there's a way to go about things, and there's a way to do things. And I think the issue at hand needs to be addressed internally and before we move on, because from personal experience, you have living in the hood, living in the inner city, you deal with things, you deal with people dying, dealt with a best friend getting killed, and it was two 35-year-old black men, and wasn't no police officer involved, wasn't anybody else involved, and I didn't hear anybody shouting Black Lives Matter then. And I think that's the point we need to get to, is that we need to deal with our own internal issues before we move forward and start pointing fingers and start attacking other people. We need to solidify ourselves as people and deal with our issues, because I think as long as we have black on black crime and black, one black man killing another, if Black Lives Matter, then they should matter all the time. You should never let somebody get killed. That's somebody's son, that's somebody's brother, that's somebody's friend. So you should always keep that in mind.
Ever since black people came together and started this movement called Black Lives Matter, a lot of people have been in uproar. People in the black community, people outside of the black community. And I explained in a recent video that I did that the real threat and the real fear as to why people are attacking this movement is the fact that black people are putting away our differences, and our little petty disagreements, or one person thinking this way, another person thinking this way, and we're unifying and coming together and saying, you know what, we have a common agenda and a common goal that we want to successfully achieve for our people. And that scares the hell out of people, because people are looking at like, these black folks, they're coming together and they're unifying. And, I believe in, the theory that there's a blessing and there's sunshine when there's dark. Because see, what's happened from all these unjustly murders and, police brutality being broadcast all through social media, on the internet, television, etc., etc. What is done is, even though we've lost lives that shouldn't have been lost, it's somewhat woken up a certain group of people within the black community. And a lot of us are coming together and we're unifying. And when you unify, that brings progression. When progression comes, that brings change. And there's a lot of people outside of our community that find that to be a threat, because they're looking at like, you know what? These black folks are putting their differences to the side, and they might possibly stop the chaos that I'm involved with, or the white supremacy that I take part in every day. And that scares the hell out of people. But we also have people like Richard Sherman that like to use certain talking points that people on the white side, or people who, want to keep this white supremacy going on, they use their talking points basically to get a cookie from the white man. Now, we never hear people say, what about white on white crime when things happen to their people? We had what was that guy, Elliot Rodgers, that went in that school and shot up all them white kids. We had the Batman character. We had the Columbine joint that popped off. What was that? I have to believe in the 90s. We've had several incidents where white folks have committed quote unquote white on white crime. But you never hear people say, oh, well, you white people, you shouldn't say anything about that. You guys shouldn't be upset about that. You shouldn't want justice or someone to be prosecuted to the full extent because this was a white on white crime. You guys commit crimes against each other. You never hear people saying that, but people always have to throw that quote unquote black on black crime term, when we stand up and we want to unify and we want to let everybody know that, hey, There's a big issue with police brutality. There's an issue with people getting away, whether they're in law enforcement, whether they're doing corruption within politics, whether it's a vigilante. When we stand up and we say there's unjustly crimes that are being committed and these people are not getting prosecuted for, all of a sudden we're in the wrong. All of a sudden we need to fall back and we need to look at our internal issues. As Coon and as Richard Sherman would say. Now we know that there's an issue with violence within our community, but there's an issue with violence in every community. And there's a lot of people out here that you don't always see on the internet or on TV, because a lot of our people think that something doesn't exist or something doesn't go on unless they see it on the internet or on television. There's a lot of people, myself included, that are out here in the community speaking to children, trying to stop the violence, trying to create programs other than sports to educate our people and get them away from committing violent acts amongst each other. And a lot of our violent acts goes back to lack of opportunities. I don't condone it, but I understand where a lot of these issues come from. It comes from not having job opportunities. It comes from lack of education and a school system that doesn't give a damn about you or the people who live within your community. It comes from racism, institutionalized racism. There's a whole bunch of different factors that play into part as to why some black people commit crimes against each other. But there's also factors that play in within the comes to the white community. But see, nobody wants to talk about that. That's too deep for you guys out there. But the minute black folks stand up and say, you know what, we're tired of this shit, our lives matter. We're not saying nobody else's lives don't matter, but also we don't see white kids and white people getting gunned and held down every single day and the killer getting away with it. We don't see that. So the Black Lives Matter movement, what it means is that our lives matter too. We are human beings like everybody else. And we always have some cooning ass black person that's trying to tap dance to keep that check coming or to keep his white colleagues happy and comfortable, coming out here making these dumbass statements. Richard Sherman, Charles Barkley, Stephen A. Smith. I can go on and on. But, I lost respect for Richard Sherman, because I was one of the cats that came out here because I saw the media was attacking this guy just for being outspoken about certain things that were going on within the NFL field, in the entertainment field. I was one of the guys that came out here and stood up for this guy because I understand how it is to be in the entertainment. I work in the entertainment field. So I know how it is to be, a black man trying to achieve certain things within that field. Coming from, a city like Compton and getting to college and making it out, I understand it. But you don't get to that level and get in a certain position. You start forgetting where you come from. Or you start deflecting away from what the true meaning of Black Lives Matter means. And a lot of these Negroes, they get in these positions, they get around these white folks, and they start to tap dance. And I don't give a damn how much money you pay me, what type of position you give me, et cetera, et cetera. I don't forget where I come from. And that's what a lot of these Negroes do when they get in certain positions. But I want to nominate Richard Sherman for the Coon train because his ass needs to be thrown on there expeditiously. I'm out, man. Wake the fuck up.
Chicken house?
Uh-huh.
What am I waiting for?
I don't know.
Me either. Tally ho.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Miss Bellman.
Yes, Miss Maggie.
Brother, there's certainly going to be a lesson to